Hello, hockey fans. The Minnesota Hockey Connection is on the air. We're on the air for the next half hour. I'm Kenny Gallagher along with Jerry Burrow. And Jerry, we know that the camera's on because I can see that little red light.
There you go.
See that there?
Hello, hockey fans.
Yeah. So glad you could join us for this half hour of hockey talk, Minnesota hockey talk. And the UMD Bulldogs went out to Colorado College over the weekend. Ooh, Friday night, what happened? Saturday night they rebounded, but what happened to the Dogs Friday night against the Tigers?
You know what? Every time they go to Colorado that first night, they never play good. I don't know why. Is it the air, a high altitude, or
the travel there?
I don't know. They just never played
Maybe
good
there is
that
some
first night in
adjustment to that.
Colorado.
You know, it's funny you say that because
Denver or, CC.
we didn't get to see the games on TV. We were listening to them on KDAL radio, but it was a different team or a different. Everything was so different on Saturday night.
Right.
I mean,
They blew 'em.
They really did. They really did. And so I don't know what does happen on that Friday night out there.
I don't know, because I was out there for the Denver series, and they didn't play as bad as the score, but they couldn't score on Friday night.
Yeah.
So they're not scorers on Friday night.
Yeah.
But they got a split. They
Yes.
came back, and it was a good victory to come back like that and the way they did it. So now they get a week off,
Yes.
but then they got some big series coming up.
They host Denver February 15th and 16th at Amsoil after this weekend. Denver comes to town, and then at North Dakota.
That Denver series is going to be one of the biggest series of the year because they're right next to each other.
Sure.
I mean, it's going to be crazy, I think.
Yeah.
So I would get tickets for that series because Denver, always comes in with a good team.
They sure do. The Pioneers will be here February 15th and 16th, 7 o'clock, drop of the puck. And then at North Dakota for 2 games. That's never an easy task. And then the Bulldogs are back in town March 1st and 2nd, take on Miami. And then at St. Cloud.
Ooh, the end of season. The number one team in the country, St. Cloud State.
I'd rather have St. Cloud here than us be there, but that's
We already played them here.
Oh, I know.
We split.
That's the way it goes down.
Huh.
Looking at this schedule, Denver, North Dakota, Miami, St. Cloud.
I kind of see 3 splits and 1 sweep. What do you see?
Okay, a Miami sweep?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with the sweep
okay.
because they're not playing good right now.
No, they're not. And then a split with Denver, North Dakota, and St. Cloud, you're saying?
Yep, that's what I see. What do you see?
Well, that would be a good outcome.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take 2 sweeps and 2 splits.
Wow, that's even better.
Yeah, I like that
I
better.
like that.
Kind of like a full house. 2 splits and 2 sweeps, please.
Well, I was at the Gopher game this weekend on Friday night. I went Gophers, high school on Saturday all day, and then back to the Wild game. So I got different levels of hockey this weekend.
Okay, so Gophers were playing
Michigan,
and Wisconsin was playing State. Michigan State.
I think they were.
Yeah. Okay, so Minnesota, Michigan. Give us the rundown.
On Friday night game, Michigan just destroyed them. The score doesn't say it. It was 4-2, but the Gophers do not have a defenseman like Perinovich to quarterback that power play. And they haven't had one in 3 years.
I was going to say, that's always been their strength.
Yeah, 3 years now they haven't had They brought in this Phillips kid early last year from the juniors.
Yeah.
It was in mid-season in the juniors. They brought him in.
Yeah.
They found out he's not going to be the one right now.
Yeah.
And so they wasted a year on this kid.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there some concern as to replacing Coach Lucia with Motzko?
No, because here's what's going to happen. You got to give him time and get his own players. Because these are all Lucia's
Fair enough.
players. So give him time. Just like people say, well, there's Paul Fenton, a new GM for the Wild,
Yeah.
People are already arguing, what kind of trades are these? Well, of course, there's no one out there to trade for, and we don't have anyone to give that compares to a good player.
We'll talk Wild talk, but Nate Prosser and JT Brown put on waivers.
Yeah. They're not liking the Minnesota kids now.
That's sad. Oh, okay, but let's stay in college hockey. So the Gophers, did they get swept?
No, they came back the next night and won. But on Friday night, on the fourth line, they had this Michigan had this little 12, number 12, forward. And I tell you, this guy was doing circles around all the Gophers. This kid could skate. And the coach knew it, so Mel Pearson is the coach of Michigan now. He was from Edina, played at Edina. Yeah. Michigan Tech before he went back to Michigan. He was Red's assistant coach for many years.
Red Berenson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just weird how they put this little kid out there, and he was just doing.
Can't remember his name, huh?
No, I can maybe see it right here.
Number 12 for Michigan.
Number 12. And number 12 is Dakota Robbie.
Where's he hail from?
Oh, the big hockey town. Capistrano Beach, California.
What?
Right below Newport Beach.
Oh, come on. Wow.
I can tell you.
Okay.
Whatever.
What can you tell us about Capistrano Beach?
It's a nice beach.
Yeah, okay. A lot of hockey going on down there.
A lot of hockey players go there.
Sure. Okay. Well, not a traditional hockey area, but neither is Arizona State. And I got to tell you, I'm impressed with what Arizona State's doing out there.
I know. That's the
something.
big shocker in college D1 hockey
They're
this
not
year,
a
I think. They're showing that they're for real.
Yeah.
And Ohio State, they're doing great. They just swept Notre Dame this last weekend, and they're number 3 in pairwise in the USCHO poll.
Well, let's talk pairwise and polls right now.
Okay, we got pairwise right here on the left. We got St. Cloud State, number 1. Massachusetts, number 2. Ohio State, number 3. Quinnipiac, number 4. Then we got 2 more Minnesota teams. Minnesota Duluth, number 5. And Minnesota State, number 6. Minnesota State is the real deal, too. And they're going to win WCHA. And
well, here you go. Denver, number 7.
Yeah.
Arizona went from 12 to 8.
No, 12 is the USCHO rating.
Oh,
That's the
I
pairwise.
see.
The
Okay,
pairwise
okay.
means more to them.
It sure does.
Because they're not in any conference.
I'm
so
not
they can't
seeing
have a tournament.
Minnesota or North Dakota in the top 20.
Now, North Dakota is 21 and Bemidji State is 26.
Well, this series with UMD and North Dakota, February 22nd, 23rd, in Grand Forks, wow, is that going to be huge for North Dakota?
Right. They need almost, it's like the Gophers. North Dakota in the NCHC and the Gophers in the Big Ten almost have to win out, I think.
Well, isn't that
get in there.
something? Okay. UMD women had Minnesota Gophers split this weekend.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought they'd get in the top 10 with that split because Minnesota with the split moved into number 1.
Really?
So I guess Wisconsin lost both games.
Well, then, what do the women play Wisconsin next?
I'm
Let's
not
take a
sure
look here.
there.
Nope, St. Cloud, then Wisconsin.
Okay.
So they got
Okay.
Wisconsin at Amsoil. The women will play Wisconsin February 15th and 16th.
Oh, the same weekend as Denver, huh?
And looks like those are both 3 p.m. starts.
Yeah, because UMD men played Denver.
And that is, that's going to be Friday, Saturday.
Big weekend then, 2 weeks from now. So, yeah, it'll be a lot of hockey. And then boys high school starts their playoffs. The girls start this week. And the boys start on the 19th.
Let's talk high school hockey. You were at the Gopher game. You went to the Wild game. What high school game were you at?
I went to the Duluth East Elk River game, and both the JV and the varsity beat Elk River big time.
Good.
7-1 JV and 6-1 varsity. So East played a good game, and tonight, which is we're producing this show on Monday, and it won't come out until Wednesday, but East is out in Cloquet tonight. It's going to be a full house.
No doubt.
Cloquet is playing very good hockey right now.
Cloquet can easily win that game.
Yeah, I was talking to Jamie Langenbrunner down at the Gopher game. He was scouting on Friday night. And
all right.
He says, yeah, he'll be there. He won't miss that game,
No,
he says.
no,
He says
sure.
it's like the old days when he used to play Duluth East. They come out and fight before they start the game.
Oh, we miss those days. Old-time hockey.
Yeah.
Jamie Langenbrenner played high school hockey and went straight to juniors? Or where did
He went
go?
up to Canada his senior year in high school.
Okay.
Was it St. Peterborough?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he went pro from there.
Yes,
but
he did.
he was a great player, and he had a great career in the National Hockey League.
2 Stanley Cups?
Yeah, I think he was
New Jersey
Dallas.
and Dallas?
Yeah. Plus, he has 2 boys on the Cloquet team. Mm-hmm. And so he's loving it probably.
Well, good.
Seeing his
good.
boys play hockey and enjoying the game.
Well, it's good to hear that the Langenbrenner tradition continues.
There you go.
High school hockey, let's stay there. What's the latest?
Well, let's get into, I can get a little rankings maybe.
Now, Duluth East, you dropped them out of the top 10?
Yeah, I'm still keeping them out of the top 10, but they're close to come back in. But there's about all these teams. There was only one game between the top 10 teams inside the top 10.
Yeah.
And that was the only loss.
Is
So
there-
all the games that the top 10 played outside, they won. 15 games was outside of their top 10, and they won every game. So the top 10 are, you can tell that they're the real deal.
Have the Skippers of Minnetonka skipped a beat yet?
Well, both the Skippers and Andover, when they played the outside game, going into that game, Tonka was number 1, undefeated. They had 1 tie, and then Andover had 1 loss. No, they were 0-2.
Yeah.
And but both those teams had a hard week from that outside game. So, but they're still in the top 3. I got Edina number 1.
Edina's taken over number 1.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Minnetonka number 2, Andover number 3, and I think if these 3 teams made it to the state, these be the top 3 seeds too.
What about Blaine?
Blaine is playing good. That first line.
Yeah.
This Bryce Brzezinski has about 60 points already. he's scoring and giving a lot of assists. But I got Blaine number 4, and some people have him number 2 even.
Okay.
So they're the real deal. I think they're the number 1 line in the state.
Yeah.
And then St. Thomas Academy, their schedule's not as tough, but so and the other teams are losing. So I put them number 5. I don't think they'll go much higher than that.
Yeah.
White Bear Lake, they play Edina, I think, this week. So that's going to be a big game. So they're number 6. Maple Grove, that's a team. They play so good sometimes and so bad some other times. They lost 4-1 to Andover this last week. And the team that kind of shocked me, I knew they're going to be good, but I thought they're a year out. Benil St. Margaret is really playing good.
Okay.
So I think that can be an upset team. I think they're in Edina section. So
Okay.
that can be an upset there.
All right.
So then Moorhead, number 9. And Rosemont, number 10.
Rosemont.
Yeah.
Duluth East doesn't make the top 10, but Rosemont does.
Yeah. Their schedule a little easier than East, but they're 17-3. They only lost 3 games.
All right.
So we'll give it to them. Let them have a little fun at.
Okay.
And plus, Mike doesn't like his team in the top 10.
Okay.
Mr. Randolph, Coach Randolph.
Doing Coach a favor.
Yeah.
So Duluth East is on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Cloquet.
Cloquet, same thing.
All right. How about Eden Prairie?
Eden Prairie, same thing.
Okay. Who else is on that?
The teams I
Watch
like,
list.
I think I got a lot of teams. Blake,
Yeah, who are some of
Bloomington,
the-
Jefferson, Brainerd, Cloquet, Cretin.
Bloomington Jefferson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Duluth East is a team that can get into Eden Prairie, Hill Murray, Lakeville North, Lakeville South. Those 2 are in Section 1. They'll probably be the weakest section in the.
What was the game Hill Murray just had this weekend? They had a big game. Was it Edina?
All right, let's see if I have that. I don't. Let's see. White Bear Lake. I think St. Thomas. They lost 4-1.
Okay. You know, I wanted to. Well, let's get to Class A. Let's do Class A, and I got a
Well,
question for you.
Hermantown had a tough game.
Against?
But they won. Montemita.
Oh yeah,
And it went into overtime.
yeah.
And Joey Pierce got the winning goal, and so they're still number 1. St. Cloud Cathedral keeps on winning. They only have 2 losses all year. Number 2, Montemita, number 3. Alexandria, number 4. East Grand Forks, number 5. Totina Grace, number 6. This is Totina Grace's last year in Class A. They're going up to Double A. 7, Thief River Falls. 8, Orono. 9, Sartell St. Stephen. and 10 Mankato East. It's kind of funny when you look at Class A's top 10 teams and beyond. A lot of these teams are outer state, not like the Double A. They're all in the Twin Cities, so there's still some hockey out there in the outstate.
Denfeld, Duluth Marshall.
They moved out because Denfeld lost to Pine City on Saturday, but they're right close to that top 10 too, just like East.
Yeah,
they can both get in there.
Duluth Marshall's
way down, and it's kind of funny the way it looks right now. When the playoffs start, Duluth East probably will play Duluth Marshall the first game of the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Duluth Marshall, let's see, they got Hill Murray Saturday.
Yep.
And then they've got St. Francis and Denfeld and Marshall February 14th, Valentine's Day at Heritage.
There are going to be some makeup games too, like Hermantown is going to be playing Cloquet at Cloquet on 13th. And let's see, 13th. And then Duluth East is going to play Superior on the 11th at 5 o'clock. And Denfeld's playing Eveleth, I think, or Hibbing that day after the East game. So doubleheader on Monday the 11th.
I wanted to talk to you about Hermantown possibly going to Class AA and all this talk and chatter. St. Thomas Academy, Class A, and it didn't end with, they were... under pressure to move up to Class AA. They did, and here you have them ranked fifth,
right?
And they are playing well in Class AA.
They've been in that area ever since they moved to AA, but they've never won state tournament since they went to AA. And now the Vanellis, the two brothers that coached the team, are leaving this year.
Are there limitations as to the number of teams that can be in Class?
No,
AA?
You can have as many as you want.
Well, if Hermantown were to go to Class AA, you're going to have a lot of good teams. And then from this area, you're going to have East and Hermantown, again, assuming they go to Class AA. But
right.
To me, in some ways, I think that, do you want to be concerned about saturation of...
Well, let's say if Hermantown went up, does Duluth Marshall stay up? Number one. Number two, if Hermantown came up, they might switch like Andover or Elk River and put them in a different section.
Sure.
So they'll do stuff like that too.
Okay.
So, but what happens is if you have more than 8 teams in your section, they have playoff games right away before the regular playoffs start.
Yeah.
So play-in, they call it.
I guess from a fan, I like the way it is right now because you have more of an opportunity, I guess. Hermantown's a good program, and you're going to have
one of the best in the state.
Representation from this area. I mean, they're a suburb of Duluth. A lot of people that live and work in Hermantown live in Duluth, and vice versa. And to think that Hermantown might be in Class AA, and it's going to be East and Hermantown that's going to determine who's going to go to state every year from this section.
Not really. There can be like Rapids went 2 years in a row.
True, but from Duluth, we're always looking for the guys or the boys from Duluth or Hermantown, Proctor to make it down to state. But as long as they're following the criteria and the protocol to be in Class A and or Class AA, why all this discussion? Just because they're good?
Because no other, but they're getting...
Well, what's wrong with the cream of the crop of a certain class?
They're getting a lot of kids from outside the area.
Okay.
To make them good.
All right.
So this Joey Pierce, he came from Ely. So they're getting a lot.
So that would change if they were in a different class?
I say some reasons that would be good for them to go to AA. No other team can get by them up here in Section A, 7A. So
but isn't that what don't you want to dominate in your sport? Don't you want to be the best? Don't you want to be the New England Patriots?
Don't you want to play in front of 20,000 instead of 8,000, 7,000? Don't you want to have the big boys trophy? Why do you play the big boys during the regular season? Why do your Pee-wees and Bantam teams play AA, then go to A when they get to high school? Well, why do there's so many. Scott Peont had a good thing, and they put it in the paper. I don't know if you read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott just this last week, about a week ago.
Scott is?
Neil Peont is dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that plays for the Rangers. But he's so committed. He went up to a meeting to tell everyone that Hermantown needs to go to Double A. Mr. Jago, the Duluth Denfield coach, spoke, and some other people.
Yeah.
But he says that the mentality up at Hermantown, they want that trophy, and this is an easy way of getting it.
Well,
That's what some people say.
again, I struggle with if they're following the rules, if they're within the parameters, they're being punished, they're being criticized because they're good.
Okay, but so if they're going to play in Class A, don't you think they should play Class A teams the whole year?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of this argument, I guess.
I mean, if they can beat the Double A teams, why
Sure.
wouldn't you want to play?
Sure.
And their competition be so much better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you think
it'd be good for hockey? I think
for the state?
for everyone. Duluth, I mean,
Okay.
East and Hermantown playing.
Yeah. Well, it's an argument that will go on until
Yep.
something's determined.
Oh, yeah.
This happened with Marshall and East. Marshall wouldn't play East, and Coach Randolph said if they move up to our class, we'll play them. They did, and things haven't gone so well for Marshall.
Well, they're having a hard time getting the real good hockey players right now. So it's they don't call it recruiting, but they need good students that play hockey.
Oh, yeah. All right, so final high school thoughts here?
I'm getting excited because I love the playoffs. That's
Sure.
my favorite time of the year in state tournament. But the section playoffs are even more fun because there's so many great games, overtime games, and
Speaking of overtimes, who does Denfeld have to overcome to make it down to state? It's been so long, Jer. It's been since I think 1989.
they
or
got to get
88.
through. They got to get through Hermantown, but
Okay.
before that, they got to beat Probably have to beat Greenway. Even though Greenway has a lousy record,
Yeah.
I'd be scared of them.
Okay.
They got some D1 players on that team,
Yeah.
and I think they could be ready by playoff time.
Be nice to see Denfeld get to state again, but
Right, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
When Hermantown's in your section.
Yeah. Well, Hermantown should move up to Class AA, I think.
Now you change your mind. All right, I got you. God, I'm a hell of a salesperson. So that's the way it is. They're still in A, and they got the right to be there, like you said. And
Yeah.
hey, but most hockey fans and hockey people would prefer them to go up to AA. I'd say you stay out of Hermantown. 90% of the people would want them in
Yeah.
AA. And Hermantown people probably more want them to stay in A.
Minnesota Wild, we've got Wild talk. Minnesota Wild are 52 games into the season, 26, 22, and 4, 56 points, good enough for fourth place in the Central Division, seventh in the Western Conference. Saturday night in St. Paul, 4-3 loss in overtime to the Blackhawks. That was a nationally televised game, and the game went to overtime. Victor Rask scored a late goal to send the game to overtime. The newly acquired
Nice
Victor.
pass by Greenway.
Yeah,
Nice pass,
yeah.
beautiful pass. You could have scored.
The game went to overtime. I looked to my wife and I said, "The Wild suck in overtime." And
You have been watching your Wild this year.
Didn't let me down. Now, granted, Ryan Suter was in the penalty box from a penalty late in the third period, and so the Blackhawks had a man advantage, and the Wild lost in overtime.
Delay a game when he threw the puck out of the
But
plate.
here's my thought on this overtime, and I may have mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again, is that in overtime, you've got a 5-minute period, which is not a regulation period.
Right.
You have 3 skaters aside, which is not a regulation lineup. Yet if there's a penalty during overtime, it's a 2-minute penalty.
Right.
And it's such a disadvantage with just 3 versus 4. Why not make that overtime penalty a minute? You've got a short period, you got a short lineup, yet it's a 2-minute penalty. So,
Well, why don't you win in regulation then?
well, I agree. But the NHL needs to look, you can't penalize a team 2 minutes in overtime, especially when everything else has been changed. But I'm not a fan of the overtime.
Well, I like the 3-on-3 for one reason. You get usually the top 3 players or 6 players from that team, both teams. And the skill level is amazing. The way they can pass that puck and they know where to be, and like they'll come back out of the zone and switch a player and come back in.
I'll tell you what, I'll compromise with you. 3-on-3, and each team gets 2 goalies. 2 goalies. You want to change the game? Let's change the game.
Yeah, but we got Stalock. He can pass the puck out and on that 3-on-3, and that can make a big difference.
Alex Stalock signed an extension with the Wild?
Yeah. So he's going to be around for a while.
Well, we'll see.
He's not making big money, but it's more money than we are.
Who was the St. Cloud guy? Parrish had a big contract, and they let him go.
But then they have to pay him for 3-4 more years.
The Wild, they're frustrating. They had a 3-1 loss at Dallas after an 8-day break following the fake All-Star game. But that loss at Dallas, that stung.
Right. Well, I can see on the road losing some games like that. But the way they're playing at home scares me. They're not playing good at home. Usually their record at home is so good. One of the better ones, top 5 in the league in the last few years.
Has this team suffered somewhat with the loss of Dumba?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have no power, really have no power play. He was their power play. Set him up for his shot around the circle there on the goalie's right. So, yeah, that's a big loss on the power play. I don't think it's a big loss on the defensive side of the play. I think they got enough players for the defense, but just scoring. If you watch the game now, you see a lot of these Spurgeon and Brodeen. They're pinching in all the time like they're a forward. A lot.
Yeah.
So they're trying to create offense. And it's hard. It's hard for them.
Real quickly, the Minnesota Wild will be at Buffalo Tuesday night. They'll be home Thursday to take on Edmonton 7 o'clock. That's an FSN Plus game. And then, Jerry, at New Jersey on Saturday to the 9th, noon. Yeah, 12 o'clock.
They must be getting these NBC games.
And then they travel up to the New York Islanders on the 10th of February, Sunday, 2 o'clock, New York Islanders. So, yeah, well, we've come to the end of the program. This half hour went pretty quick, Chair.
Yeah, a lot of hockey.
If you haven't found us on Facebook yet, find us on Facebook and like us there, Minnesota Hockey Connection. Also, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Find us on YouTube. And check that out, MinnesotaHockeyConnection.com, all the rankings that Jerry puts together every week. We want to thank the staff at PACT-TV, where this is produced in downtown Duluth. And Jerry, final thoughts?
Well, a lot of hockey still to go, and we're coming down to the last month in D1, but high school hockey, I'm getting ready for those playoffs. And I tell you what, you got to get out to some of these playoff games because these kids put it all out there on the ice.
Well, with that, no UMD hockey this weekend.
Nope, they got a break.
Men. And we'll be back here next week to drop the puck. We'll see you then.
Yep, see you at the rink.